cannot go on in my neighborhood, in South Bend. And of course, this isn't the only place a company like Honeywell is doing this to workers. And so we have to stop this across the country. So my question has been, what is it that we can do as elected officials? And I'm asking you today to make sure that you hold me accountable and help me hold these other officials accountable. Where are they today? Why aren't they in this room? Or are they in the room? Let's have them stand up and come forward. I think that we're in a special position right now. Our esteemed mayor running for the DNC. What is the Democratic Party doing about this? I don't know all the rules about, partisan talk and what I can do and say. But given that he's in the national spotlight, this is happening in your city. How can we use those relationships, leverage those relationships now to make sure that we shine the light on the injustice that's happening here? That's the kind of thing that we need to do as a community. So when you talk about, what can we do as 200 organized workers, we can go to our elected officials and we can put them on Front Street. Y'all can put me on Front Street and say, where are you? What are you doing? How are you speaking out? Because it's not okay. When we talk about your President Trump, he's concerned, as we all are, about companies moving jobs to Mexico, moving them overseas. But I would say what Honeywell is doing may be even more despicable. Because what they're doing is capitalizing on these economic conditions to pit struggling family against struggling family. And we cannot allow that to happen. So we have to... I would say to our president, if you are truly the great negotiator, if you are truly America first, which Americans are first? You can't allow this to go on. We need to, like I said, shine the light on this, make sure this becomes a national issue because it is happening in other places, and help people really understand that critical element, that this is not a strike. These families want to work. These workers are ready to work. But the company, because of greed, has locked them out and then brought in more vulnerable people to say, we're going to pay you less, and it's not acceptable. We can't let that happen in the United States of America. So let's do it.
There have been some veiled references to the current political climate. But the next person who's going to speak held the day after the inauguration, organized one of the biggest demonstrations in U.S. history, the International Women's March. Well, we saw that there were people who were not being able to go to D.C., not able to go to Chicago, and very quickly, our next speaker, April Ladinsky, organized, with help of course, we're not going to do this on our own, but organized a South Bend
president of Dodge Truck, Local 140 in Detroit, Michigan. There are 4,000 workers there that know of your plight now. We understand that you are having a meeting in about a week, and we will be back if necessary. Believe me, the International and Honeywell know what is happening today. They know that there are more people here than were here when we were at Local 9. And if need be, there will be more people again. The public that doesn't know about this is with you. Any person of average intelligence understands and sympathizes with this injustice. And it's our job to get that message out. Frank and I have a presentation we'd like to bring to you real quick.
So we've written this up and we're going to show you some slides, but we haven't rehearsed this. You'll be interested to know that you have support from workers in other countries. This is a photo of workers and their families in Bogota, Colombia, in South America. The sign they're holding says, and would somebody please read it? I can't read it from here.
They worked at a GM assembly plant until they suffered work-related injuries and then were illegally fired. Denied workers' compensation. There were hundreds of them. They had no union to represent them. They formed an association to fight back, entitled a social called Association of Injured and Fired Workers.
A social code got some news coverage in their country, which you can see on the slide. Here in the U.S., GM made sure that corporate media wouldn't report their story. That's just like Honeywell, making sure the public doesn't know about the lockout.
To dramatize their fight, they erected a tent in front of the U.S. Embassy. They now have been there 2,020 days. They also went on hunger strikes, including to the point of sewing their lips shut. They also buried themselves alive up to their neck, showing that that's what they were actually doing to their families.
Various U.S. congressional representatives have visited the tent and reported back, pointing out that what was going on in Colombia was in violation of the U.S.-Colombia Free Trade Agreement. It was to no avail. There are no regulations in the trade agreement that forces GM to do right. In the picture is Congressman Keith Ellison from Minnesota.
U.S. union members, community supporters have arranged numerous rallies at GM headquarters, dealerships, the Detroit Auto Show, and also raised thousands of dollars from local unions to sustain their fight. A lot of this has been done by Auto Worker Care.
These are the Associate members in front of their tent